Hello everybody. Today we're going to be taking a look at a couple of PIR sensors from DIYmall. I got these in a 5-pack for $8.99 and I just couldn't resist the price. And I needed them anyway. I'm going to use mine for triggering the critter cam on the smart car I've got over here. And actually I'll make a video on setting that up here later on. Right out of the box, they come very well packed in a nice anti-static bag, and nothing was damaged, bent, or broke. All the pins stayed straight. And looking at the board layout, everything's nice and neat, no burnt spots. Potentiometers are standing straight up. I was real happy about that. Usually everything's all bent up and you're wondering if it's going to work or not. Not from DIYmall, but other vendors. So overall visual inspection, everything looks really nice. I'm very happy with it. Underneath the hood, usually I get these sensors and the sensor isn't always mounted flat against the board, but checked every one of these and they're flat against the board, so that should help them function better. Okay, put that back on there. So now that we got the pros, well, we didn't get the cons out of the way. There's one thing I didn't like about this. Now they mentioned it in their ad that you need to solder either jumper pins or a switch on the trigger retrigger jumper, which is fine with me. I don't have any problem with that. However, only thing that I ran into was those solder pads are so small. For the beginner, you just wouldn't be able to solder them hardly. However, I didn't have any switches or any jumper pins, so I opted to just do a solder jumper across mine. But that's the only thing that I did not like about the board, is that you have to solder your own jumper on, and that's not such a big deal. But the pads are so small, it's super difficult to do it. I mean, it's just a nightmare. But I got it done. And after doing that, this is what mine looks like. See if I can get it to focus right here. Alright, that's my solder jumper right there, and I jumpered mine to the high. So on your little jumper pads there, if my camera was better, you would be able to see an H and an L. The L is on top and the H is on the bottom. I soldered my jumper to the H side, which is that one right there. And you can't hardly see this. Alright, now we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and do our hookups. We're going to use the one that I've jumpered because I'm going to use mine in retrigger mode. So, we've got ground. Signal is the center pin. And then 5 volts is the power supply for VCC. And on our Uno, I set the sketch up to run on pin 2 for our signal input. And of course, 5 volts would go to your 5 volt header on your board, and then ground would go to the ground. You have two of them, either one will work. Once you have that set up, and optionally the sketch uses pin 13, which is the L LED on the Uno board. If you want to use the onboard LED, fine. If you want to use the onboard LED with an external LED, that's fine too. Well, we're going to use one with an external LED, just so we can see our green light up. That'll go to pin 13, and the ground will go to the ground right beside it. And we'll just lay that right there. Alright, now that we've got the hookups all done, we need to go over to the Arduino IDE. We'll go ahead and plug it in first so that we have power when we open the IDE. Okay, now that you have your hookups done, let's go over to our Arduino IDE. Get that opened up. Board's plugged in, so we're going to go to Tools, COM port, make sure we're on the correct COM port, and we are, COM 5. Select our board, and we have this set up on a genuine Uno, so we want to make sure we have that selected. And then lastly, our programmer. We want to be using the USB Tiny on the Uno. Once you have that done, we want to come over here and select our file. Now, you can rename your file anything you like. When I downloaded the sketch, I renamed it PIR Test 1. So load our sketch and then upload it to the Arduino board. And this program will send the state of the pin to the serial monitor. So we're going to open up the serial monitor and take a look here real quick. And right now we don't have anything going on. LED light is off. So we'll go ahead and trigger it and see what happens. And it says motion detected. Now I've got the timer set down to 0, so it should go off pretty quick, and it did. And it says motion ended. As long as there is motion in the room, that pin will, its state will not change back. That's why I have it set in retrigger mode, because I don't want it going on and off, on and off, on and off. Now there is an application where I will be using that function. There I would do my solder jumper to the L side, and that would be for my photo burst. Every single time there is something triggered, I want a photo burst, and that would be on one of my critter cams. We'll go over setting that up at a later date. So now we know our motion sensor is talking back to the serial port. We can do a lot of things with that output too. In this instance, it's just going to be triggering the critter cam to turn on and record video. The other sensor will be triggering photo bursts. Yeah, detected and motion ended. Detected, motion ended. And you can play around with the sensitivity knobs to get your desired function and time. You can turn that time way up. Right now it's down to its lowest point, so when you trigger it, it's probably about well, 10 seconds or so, maybe less, before it turns off with no motion detected. Okay, as we come back and look at our LED, you see it's lit right now. I had to put a box in front of me to block my IR signal because it wouldn't turn off. So the light is off, and now we have motion. The light goes off, now we have motion. And the light goes off, now we have motion. And you can change the sensitivity on this to anything that you like. I'm going to turn this one up just a tiny bit. Actually, again, with the PIR sensor upside down, this trim pot is sensitivity and this trim pot is time, and we want to keep that all the way down, otherwise it takes forever for the LED light to turn off. So let's turn our sensitivity up just a little bit, to just a little over halfway, and see what happens. If you get the sensitivity up too high, keep in mind some ambient light will interfere with it, and it is pretty sensitive right now. It is me. So now if I just barely move, it sees me. So I'm going to take the door off. Still have to get in view of the sensor. Well, there you go. Sensor works very well. I'm very happy with it. The sensitivity settings seem to be all nice and smooth on the potentiometers. Center seems to dip just a little bit, but that's pretty common on just about all of them. Now, DIYmall gets 5 stars from me. The solder pad deal is not a deal breaker. It's just a suggestion. Maybe you should install the jumper, or at least the switch or something. Very nice sensor. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.